Icy has a flash to set him up if they want to go for this one. Ult committed. Fight.
Desde atrás, King acaba con la vida del robot, rompe la definitiva. Montino prevalece tremendo.
Here with GoKit from Leviatán, a very convincing map. It was your map pick, but I'm going to bring it back to what we were talking about before when I interviewed Tex, when we saw before the game, that sort of Tex revenge factor that the team was talking about, that Tex was talking about, that even G2 was alluding to as the kind of leader, the adult in the room, if you will. They're all adults, but as the adults in the room. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, when I tried Tex for the team, I specifically booked a prac against G2 to see how he would take it, and he destroyed them. So I can tell he's very hungry to play against them, and he demonstrated it on first map.
Well, you almost got an ace, so he's looking pretty good. Well, best of luck on map 2.
Well, whether it's the practice or it's the actual game, seems like Tex is doing perfectly fine against his old opponents in G2 Esports. Leviatán just look absolutely fantastic as they shut down G2 on Breeze. And, I mean, Myrna, I think it just goes without saying, like, this is what we had expected out of Leviatán, considering the firepower that is on that team. But, man, the way that they started things off was just something else.
Yeah, for sure. They started off strong. I mean, G2, they have a defensive comp, and they couldn't even get enough rounds on attack in order to put themselves in that good position. But as we can see here, the whole team on Lev contributed to some sort of a win in this scenario. It just felt like they were on top. They played their game, and I think they played it really well.
Yeah, and for Ospas, especially in that first half, getting the off online in round 5, it was lights out before that, but once that came in, there was nothing G2 could do to beat them.
Ospas was ridiculous, and in the head-to-head against Icy, it was completely one-sided. There was a lot of pressure put on the rookie for G2 to play that solo Yoru. Generally, we're seeing those Yoru Jet comps, and in this head-to-head, when he was going for these opening kills, he was getting shut down, and a large part of that was how ridiculous Ospas was playing.
Yeah, and look, it's not a surprise that that happens.
Sure.
Like, we came in full well knowing Ospas was going to have the upper hand, but it's a thing of beauty to see game after game, series after series, how well Ospas is performing. Like, he does not skip a beat. Ever since that match against Sentinels when he dropped 47, it has just been lights out over and over.
Yeah, I mean, every single player can shoot back, but it's a matter of Ospas being insanely consistent in top fragging. And it's not only the matter that he's just top fragging, he can take that operator in any defensive stance, move it around, get lines for his team, get information, and it's almost like you can just leave him on an island and he'll be fine. Even though he's that duelist player, doesn't have that much util set up behind him, he's just doing great by himself.
Now, that actually happened a few times, where he was just, like, on an island by himself and just dominating everyone.
He's so good at, like, setting himself up for success. But despite that, he wasn't the #1 player on that scoreboard for the side of Leviatán. Tex was owning.
Wild stuff, honestly. Tex really just with a point to prove, or I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't even want to look too far into it. I just think it was just Tex popping off because my guy was out there just, you know, Wild Westing it.
No, I mean, especially on defense, right? Whenever they came in towards that B site, and it wasn't always like him waiting for them to come at him. These are two very aggressive plays back to back. But I also just thought that the quick tempo retakes that Lev had around that B site, because the hard wall not fully giving control to G2 over the full site, Tex was just so often on site as the spikes being planted to farm kills.
Yeah, it takes a lot of nerve to kind of either play on site perfectly or fall off site. And I feel like every single round, Tex made the right call each time. He knew when he could go aggressive and kind of take the fights by himself, and he knew when he should fall off and set up for the retake. That is definitely like a team combined effort, but Tex specifically played that insane.
That's what I've really liked about his kind of switchover of roles now, joining this Leviatán roster, having to play the Sentinel instead of the primary dive duelist agent, which he was playing with G2 when they were going on their run last year. He still will throw in some of those rounds where he makes a play, is like pushing through a cage and getting proactive, but also can fall back, be more of an anchor. There's a lot of depth to his play.
And usually those aggressive looks are based on something else the team is doing. Like, it's a clear, cohesive plan that they've built around to enable him to go look for
like I feel like it's two different situations, right? Ospas, he could just do it on his own because he can't, because that's kind of like how the team's been built. Whereas with Tex, it's really fascinating to see how the team, and even though the team still supports Ospas in that regard, it's great to see them put Tex in those positions.
Because he needs less resources, you can put these resources into setting Tex up for plays sometimes too.
And I think what it's really manifested in is for Leviatán having the most flexible defense that I've seen in Americas. Like, they can...
It's how they stomped NRG. safe.
Yeah, exactly. And they do it based off of the trap plays that you'd see on a map like Sunset or on Icebox or Breeze, having consistent defaults that then you have the aggro peak of an Osboss or a Tex coming in to just really surprise you. It is those types of looks that make Lev such a dangerous team to prep against.
I mean, they're just so solid on their fundamentals and their protocols. It is insane. I think they've worked so hard specifically on their foundation that you can see it coming out, where they don't hesitate for a second when they all know what to do at all times.
Well, look, G2 need to figure it out. Thankfully, we're going to hear from the coach at G2 with Elizabeth ahead of map 2.
Here with Coach Josh RT of G2 Esports. Now, that map didn't go in your favor. You were attempting to bring it back, not quite, but we are going to your map pick on Icebox. What are we fixing from map 1 into map 2?
I think we just need to trust each other more, believe in our plays, be aggressive when we need to, and don't give them space. But also make sure Osboss doesn't get picks on us on our attack. So I think those are the keys.
Would you say Osboss is like the biggest kind of X factor for Leviatán right now?
I think we couldn't get into our attack side. Like besides the early blunder, of course, he was able to get a man advantage for them constantly. So it didn't get us like into our groove.
Best of luck.
Yeah, I think it's especially important hearing Josh there talking about how they can not allow Osboss to get those free picks as we move into the map of Icebox, where that Jet is so incredibly dominant at re-swinging into lines. This is where G2's scaling fundamentals will be challenged to a T. They have to be perfect when they're working up into B main, A main, not to fall prey to that op.
I feel like on this map, G2 has a much more better fundamental understanding of how to rotate properly and play this map, especially around Trent. He's been so good at getting that information and providing it to the team, and they have that Gecko to get a lot of this information. They don't have the duelist player, which I'm a little bit scared of, so they really need to win out on their defense here.
You can play Icebox with no duelists. I think the comp is totally fine. And in fact, I think these double initiator comps have been playing super well into these more default Jet, Harbor, Viper comps. When you have the Gecko and the Sova, you have a lot of ideas to flood retake and fight through that util.
Well, G2 Esports need the win right here to force that map 3, but Leviatán could very well shut it down. Let's send it back over to your casters, Brennan Sideshow.
Yeah, let's find out if they can really mount that, I guess come back into the series overall here for G2. And Icebox is their map pick. They're going to get their choice of that at least. And with the composition they're playing, it does give you a lot of options, I think, as well. It also can be quite limiting to a degree. For me, personally, I keep harping on about this, but when you don't have a duelist into this comp, when you're trying to set it up with the double initiator, who's the one who's going to be taking that space? You have the tools, but who's going to be the tip of the spear for you? I think that's going to be a question and something I'm looking at, I think, for G2 on this particular Icebox.
The desk was talking a lot about how Aspas works with or without resources.
Yeah.
And that is an applicable conversation to have about G2 as well, because the resources are kind of given by IC and used by IC. It's, it's his job to push off the back of a lot of his own util, which is a little more awkward sometimes. But I think while the meta comp, it might not be, Leviatán's usage of it was amazing the last time we saw it on Icebox. All of the details looked sublime.
One-time plays through and through. This so similar by G2. I mean, look at this. Hard flank up through mid, making sure that they take all that space. They realize it's coming on through A. It's a flank with 3 players. They contact into the turret and they actually just think twice about it.
Yeah, the turret's broken, so now Leviatán need to look behind them or try to react forwards. Com seems to be prepping a recon for Aspas to push.
He's incredibly deep and aggressive onto the angle and approach, but he has just skewered the man. Sheriff in hand. He lets it sing. Jonah P. It's quite a good job, honestly, of just trying to shore up the offense here. Onto the retake. Leaf now is alone in it. Spots out the 1 and the 2nd, so he's got to know these players' positions, but he needs to find the kills with only 5 bullets to do it with. Spraying him through, needs to get that reload online, but doesn't anticipate this angle from the back. Doesn't know where to look. With the spike ticking away, time has ran too short for it, so Leviatán up 1 round here by winning that opening pistol.
If G2's game plan was to not give away early picks to Aspas, and that's just gonna feel so brutally awful for them. Aspas is hunting in every post plant on A for these kind of fights. But what is this angle?
It's insane. I mean, you just don't really... You're never going to expect somebody to be playing up there.
No, and it's such an unusual spot. Valen tries to tuck close and then get the wide swing into it, and he swings his head straight into the crosshair placement. Yeah. It's just, he's everywhere. Aspas is always going to be a menace. If you give Leviatán the ability to take sight, Aspas is not going to drop back and play some kind of passive close plan. It's going to be in your face.
Yeah. G2 have pushed players aggressively. Spotted though. Trying to take the fight there, Harbor v Harbor, but the better weaponry. Wins it out for Mazzino. Take a bit of a breather now into the moment, realizing that they were playing aggressively for that orb.
And they're going to be holding for any kind of mid re-clear. Something that Leviatán were caught by a few times on Breeze. Not happening in this round, though. No. G2 just holding, just believing in the read, believing in the gamble.
And hoping that Lev will just walk right into them, which is the case here. But the question is, can they really overcome that? Not quite. It's a full flurry and rush towards them. Anybody that was going to boot, doing some damage. Potential going to be removed here onto the side. So a free plan for Lev again. Never free round for them. Building up early.
There's an interesting dynamic in this match. Which, you know, we've been talking a lot about Tex against his former team, but we've also got two of our biggest heavy hitters from last year's regular season, Aspas and Leaf. Both towards the top of the scoreboard at the very early stages of this map, but one now moving from duelist to kind of anchor position. And Leaf's not always going to be anchoring on this map. Sometimes it's the Killjoy's job, like a lot of the time, to just be kind of monitoring mid and playing the float. But I am intrigued to see that, because as much as Aspas has just been incredible since the very beginning of his time on Loud, Leaf last year was matching him for impact on duelist.
Ooh. Ever so slightly missed time in that one, but the punish for the orb. But you're right. Leaf and Aspas going head-to-head. Not always in the server, but definitely when it comes to contending for the top spots. Right here. In terms of the statistics over the course of Americas.
Yeah, and that was last year. I don't know whether the same is going to be said for this year. You know, with the shift for Leaf in terms of team and also role.
Different career direction.
Whereas for Aspas, it's just, he's continued that.
Continued it. He's so agile as well. This guy, fluid in terms of the way he plays. Look at him, fearless. Just hopping up over towards 410, seeing if he can take an early fight. They put down that pressure. They do force out a high tide from G2.
And I really like that. Aspas's steps forwards there actually disguise the steps backwards from the rest of Leviatán. And then he knife out walks away so that there's no footsteps given. So 3 players staying over on A. Now, normally you would wait for King to hear people rotating off, but Lev have just gone B, thrown a bit of utility, and they're hoping that that will have pulled players off site. King hasn't heard them leave. So this is a bit more of just a gamble rather than a hard read where your lurker's giving you that great info.
And G2 have got players tucked deep onto the side. Valen, he's going to be one to watch. Lowered angles, high tide rips its way through and across, and he wins the fight. Guarding the angles, it's a flood attempt here. Time's running really damn short, really damn low. Can even get themselves onto the side to get this plant online. Where is the spikes being dropped into the middle of nowhere? In fact, I mean, Aspas is going to have to stick this one just where he stands.
It's a very safe plant. Leaf's not going to be able to disrupt.
Now, are they going to be able to double up? Where are these bullets flying through? Right through the screen. Leaf wins it out just as we were talking about that head-to-head battle. Matters into his own hands here. G2. A great idea of how they wanted to disrupt that one and not falling for that, you know, bait and switch.
Round 2, Leviatán go for an A re-hit. Round 3, they go and throw fake utility over to B, A re-hit. G2 are reading into this. I don't know if this is based on VOD prep or whether they've just got a good idea about what's happening. But for this site exec, there's no recon dart available. They're going in without a lot of their utility because they previously just used it to, in an attempt to pull players away, but actually there were still 3 defenders ready to receive. So Lev trying to play an advanced game and G2 not reading that bluff at all.
Same early util here. Snake by shock dart. You know how hard the G2 are playing for those early orbs.
Poison orb emitting.
So far, Valen's calling has been quite good. Very aware in terms of the possibilities that Lev could be landing over towards A, having good game plans cooked up. This time it's, I mean, heavy emphasis onto mid. I mean, they've got 4 players watching.
Yeah, so you've got this mid re-clear potential going on. And another thing to draw attention to is Leaf's ultimate.
Maybe
He's just sent it?
Yeah, just sending it. I think just hearing that pressure over towards the A side, maybe just trying to buy some time. It is a strange one. It's early on into the round.
If you use that for retake, I don't think Lev have any tools to break it.
Now Mazzino, that's his cue, ends up sending the reckoning. Hello, fight! I mean, just startling and scaring each other there, but Icy, he doesn't win it against Text. Valin, a wide face there, just trying to dodge and avoid the stuns that were sent flying. Vulnerable up, but it doesn't matter. Ever win it out with the gunfights.
Oh, Jonah P. Snakebite actually takes down Mazzino, who gave his life and the cove to get the plant.
A real chance here. I mean, Jonah P. lurks his way up top, but the angle's watched for by Com here. It's going to be covering it. The blight on the map as well, and it gives the right angle here for Aspas.
Bren, I think G2 were in position to win this round, and all they had to do was allow Lev to plant on A, and then get set up for the lockdown. And I think a re-clear through to mid, they should have been able to fight over screens. But what they're probably scared of is, once you get Aspas in position in the post plant, you might find it difficult to even get to screens, but you can just put it heaven.
Yeah.
And then play the retake from there. So I'm really confused as to why Leaf decided to use that lockdown so early on. It gave Leviatán still 45 seconds to use Harbor Ult and commit to their attack. I think that was a big misplay.
Of almost punish. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you're just making a decision-making easy for a team like Lev there. And they see they have that much time on the clock.
The lockdown retake is not very good against the Gecko KO compositions because they tend to have molly lineups to break the lockdown. But if you're playing against a Viper Harbor comp, they don't have too much. Maybe they specifically know that Tex and Com have great Nanoswarm shock lineups or something, but surely you'd be able to break the nanos. I just... Sometimes Occam's razor, it was probably just a misplay rather than some kind of advanced 5-head strat.
It's usually the case. Well, single shots will have to be the case here for Jonah P, but only the one before the trade is down and out. And this is really one of the first times we've just ended over towards the B side with 48 seconds left. Second shot of the Outlaw not quite landing. So Aspas is alive and kicking. Will they live to regret that? It's going to be the question. Turret broken. King calling for that pause here, seeking for a kill or two. Shock touch, just obfuscating the angle there, just making it nice and awkward. King does collect up that kill, and now with the plant, does need to be held for him, making sure that nobody can really push him away, which T2 grouped up. They've only really got the classics to work with.
Good cover from Com there, making sure that King could get the plant down. And King was pushing forwards with full armor, so wasn't worried about getting shot by the Outlaw. Aspas barely dodged a shock dart, and Trent's still got another to work with.
Know roughly where Com is, but yeah, they just don't really have the guns for it, do they? Border util sent flying on top of it. It's Nana Swarms and Snake Bites. Dwindles your chances and opportunities to even win out the round. Valin hope to do some damage here. Potentially to the economy. Might even really go down to a player, honestly, because he was one away from the ult, but instead just decides to deny them any chance of snowballing further.
I don't think Valin will find it easy to pick up the A orb, though.
No, they've been pushing him away every round.
Yeah. Molly shot combo over there is difficult to try to contest. But this one, while Jonah did open it up, generally speaking, a pretty decent anti-eco from Leviatán. Getting deep, not just playing the default kind of flowchart gameplay on this map, actually pushing a little deeper, making sure that they clear out Leaf, to get that plant down easily. And we're back to A.
And it's a pivotal one with this round, indeed. The economy for G2, they've got to start winning some rounds and stringing them together here and now. An attack early on, and it's right on target and right on line for a potential disaster class here for G2. Two players getting tagged down as well to the really just double digits of the HP. Tex is forward now with the rest of his team over the top of the ropes here. They don't want to slow down in the slightest. Mollies might make this one a little bit tricky and a little bit awkward still. Gonna hold down that ground. Aspas delivering death blow after death blow. This guy is just unstoppable right now.
Nobody on G2 can stop him, especially when King is working his way forward, so that first most difficult kill is a trade for Aspas. He doesn't actually have to brute force his own way in. He can trade out his IGL. Great 1-2 combo there from Aspas and King. But also, maybe this is me with my 2020 hindsight at the end of the round, but Com starts so many of these attack side rounds when he has Hunter's Fury by just droning, getting the tag, and getting a kill. It is just constant that he goes for that. And it's a really common thing that a lot of Sovas do on the attack. And I think G2 instead were anticipating that shock molly. The conditioning of the constant shock molly made them worry more about that than a potential that they could die to the Hunter's Fury. But if you give Com a tag off the back of the drone, he did like so much damage.
It's unreal. I mean, a kill found and softening up two of the players that were anchored onto the site.
Yeah.
Just from this here.
Look at that one. The final pulse, I think, hits onto Trent and Valley. Just opens up and softens up G2 for the rest of the hit.
Yeah.
And that's ruined them. We're in a similar position to Breeze again, where you only need one rifle round and you're back to an eco, and then it's another rifle round and you're back to an eco.
It felt like I was just describing how important that round was for G2. With the economy, if they lose it, they're going to be broken, and they have to get the turning point started here and now in that prior round. It's forced out the timeout now because they've lost it. The economy is going to be in a really poor place. I mean, it's only Valen who's got the rifle that he kept from the last round that we just watched. They do have some ults to work with as well still, but this is just Lev that are in world beater form, I think, currently. They've just made such a miraculous 180, which it's, listen, right now we're kind of accepting that, oh yes, Lev, of course, they've always been the super team. Yeah. But it hasn't always been the case. They had a slow start to the stage, and honestly, I've seen the playbook written out so many times over the course of just esports history of the super team doesn't work out and it implodes. Yeah. And there was that turning point for them, honestly. And I always circle back to, Com, I think it was in a post-match interview, God knows how many matches ago now, but talking about the team having a big sit-down, talking about communicating, identifying how they wanted to play Valorant as a team. And since that point, they have just looked unleashed.
The meteoric improvements they've made have been astounding to watch. And the players have all got tons of experience, but aligning those different ideas of how to play the game can be really difficult.
Yeah.
There's that shock molly again, this time with Com not having his ult to work with.
With how important the ults are for G2 as well, I mean, you can see it's such a clear game plan for them. They want to go for it every single time. Whenever they can, possibly to just at least farm up the A orb using the high tides, but always push back. Spend it at every single point. G2 have just been on the back foot.
Now, Trent and Valen don't want to take the ult orb too early because it gives information to Leviatán that defense has pushed up on A. But now that they've taken the whole of B, they've missed their opportunity, still don't have the ult online. Not that it'll particularly matter for this round.
Snake bites. Not quite going to land into the corner here, but with the they just think it's entirely cleared up here. Leaf, how's he managed that? 2 kills. Just with the Sheriff, can't quite manage the third, but definitely damage being done. Lev instantaneous on the response, but it's a 1v1 just like that. Flip of a coin. Blink and you will miss it. Trent doesn't quite have the gun to really do the job. Tex with the rifle. He's holding this one at an off angle. Plenty of util though for Trent to work with, and he is going to send loose that dart. Gets the acknowledgement now that he knows where Tex's position is. Dropping down with the turret. A few shots fired, and it's a game of that timings wrapping around. Just the Kraid, a tap. Not quite, just full stick in this one. Swinging so wide. Trent! He rips his head clean off.
I mean, what a way of playing it. If Trent had gotten off that one before he got half, that would have been an incredible way to win the clutch from Lev. But instead, Tex made to look a little silly in that.
It's insane.
And look at how this play happens. The snakebite misses the corner, and the recon dart takes so long, that pulse, to travel to the corner, that actually it's not cleared by the time the cloudburst dissipates.
Concentrates over.
The time, it was ticking there. I mean, the widest of wide swings. Lev will be hoping that they'll be fine still throwing that one away.
It's got G2 back into it, though.
Call that one a lifeline.
Yeah. With the ults now as well built up, just from them losing these subsequent rounds. Aspas has gone for these early peaks with the Blade Storm. He does make this map look like, again, a playground. Use the term a lot, but he's so agile. Knowing all the ins and outs of the angles. Meanwhile, pressure over towards B. That will force this Viper's Pit out.
They've missed Jonah.
They have missed it.
Oh, no, got the tag.
Got the tag, yeah, in the end. And Tex is quick onto the approach. Look at this. He's got to be worried about the snowman position. Just doesn't really think about it.
Yeah, Leaf gets value from basically the same spot 2 rounds in a row. And also, it felt like Tex had an opportunity there to spam onto Jonah P. 2 rounds in a row, maybe Tex is feeling a little bit of sympathy for his former team.
Yeah, going easy on him.
They deliberately sent him to Lev. It was an inside job.
For this match right here, holding the Reckoning. But also, it just looks like Lev. Okay, it looks like they contact as far as they're willing to go. Setting out the Reckoning. No golden beams of light in the air, so they know it's relatively free. But now sent out by G2, Hunter's Fury, Trent. At this particular angle, Aspas trying to go for that same spot once more that just did all that damage from behind the flank. It's all synced up. In the chaos of the situation, Leaf is striking them right where it hurts. Zeno can't reset the aim and doesn't even expect the second player to just be swinging out there from lower. So G2 are getting these rounds now together right on time.
That's that 1-2 punch from the Reckoning into Hunter's Fury that I was talking about on Breeze. And G2 pick a great time to use it. That put a ton of pressure onto Aspas. Forced him to take a fight he wasn't quite ready for. And that's now 2 rounds in a row where Leaf has also had massive impact. Picks this one up on Tex. Comes around on the flank and kills another 2. Lovely round from Leaf. They're gonna have to make an adjustment. It's very clear the area that Leaf is now playing on that B defense.
Yeah.
In back Snowman, well, he can be isolated. You can try to send a harbor wall that cuts off Snowman and fight into that area.
Yeah. You also have to consider as well, it did take 3 ultimates for the win there for G2.
Yeah. But I think, yeah, I mean, that's very valid. It wasn't an eco swing round. Leviatán were coming into it with a bit of a half buy.
They've now taken his time out, seeking the right course, I think, as well, to see which direction they really want to take it into, because there are some stuff that they do need to correct, just in terms of how they're ending in some of these rounds. But yeah, that one got a bit funky with the Viper's pit down, the Reckoning and Hunter's Fury to clear through. G2 won't have those tools again.
A couple of mistakes creeping into the game from Leviatán in what has otherwise been a pretty flawless series so far. So cutting them off early, nipping it in the bud, very important.
Icy with the op. That's interesting. Fallon with the purchase there. Bit of access to it.
Icy is gonna have to be opping on the low ground here, and you'd expect him to be peeking underneath pipes towards the right side. But that's a really pushed up position. He needs a lot of support. Yeah, this is the angle I'm talking about, but you know, if you miss the shot here, you're really relying on Trent and Valen.
Zeno, some level of awareness. No, not quite. Who's going to jiggle for that one? It's a combined offensive. Icy! It's given time to rescope him, but Aspas will not let him get away with that. Who's so hot on his heels, and he is deep into the site now, claiming all of A. Just the entirety for him. Leaf, though, immediate shutdown.
I have the spike.
Another situation, actually, where Leaf's having impact. This is going to be difficult for King. G2 could even play full A retake in this position. I think you can play full A and B retake. As long as Leaf and Jonah group up and find an opportunity to use the lockdown, they should checkmate King.
That's what they're doing. Backs against the walls, making sure that they cover the cross in the blind spots of each other. But King have open access here to the A site. Go for the plant, a lockdown committed. Now, this will confirm King's position no matter what. Does make it more predictable. He wants to get ahead of it. And guess what? So does Leaf. Way ahead of it. Expecting that to already be cleared out and respected, but King, it will do nothing of the sort. Into the 1v1 over the ropes, missing it! Slightest of blind spots, but maybe just not paying attention in time. It's Jonah P. Seals up the round there.
I thought King had an opportunity. He played that situation so well, but Jonah coming across on the ropes, very unexpected. I think the difference maker in this round is the fact that Icy is able to get the kill onto Comp. This big fracas occurs over towards A, and Icy gets the opener and still has time to scope back in to get another kill on Vent. On Belt, sorry. It shouldn't have required Aspas to shut down Icy. But you can see Leviatán didn't want to bait out that play. They just wanted to crush it. And that ended up with them going into the triple stack on A. The offers move.
Oh, it's getting competitive as well with that early kill. Straight down mid, up the gut. King falling nice and early. These advantages flowing the way of G2.
I think that's got to just be spun through smoke, right? King must have bloomed his Viper.
Got to think that's insanity occurring. I mean, G2 just like that. You talk and talk and talk about Lev being this world beater team, and then just like that, G2, they answer back in kind. Aspas trying to dash and make something of it. It's a flawless round. As quick as you know it, 5-5, evened up.
Another round where Leaf dominates. I'm not exactly sure how he's getting so much value by playing Killjoy in this map, but he feels like he's all over the place. Some rounds he's defending A, some rounds he's getting spam kills in mid. He gets a spam kill in mid and then pushes Tube for another onto Tex, while Lev fruitlessly tried to drive into B. Getting the op online and getting Leaf more active have been two huge win cons here for G2.
Yeah.
But now, massive amounts of ultimates available for Leviatán.
And so in theory, it should swing really the advantage of the favor for this round here for Leviatán. But already, G2 are making moves into mid.
Yeah, Tex cannot afford to get caught here. The turret watches.
Turret down.
Broken, going for a swing and an attempt. Tex! It's risky, but ultimately wins it out. McCom helping out with the Hunter's Fury. Any sort of connections? No. Any sort of space gathered? Not quite. Team not really taking it just yet.
I think you could slow this down if you wanted to. You don't have to go into the plant immediately.
But they're rushing straight into it. A lot of util as well. Expended there with a shock dart. He's trying to break that one. The plant is down for them.
You've got Pit here, lockdown. Lots of opportunities to make this difficult for G2. The drone's already in. Did it tag onto Mazzino? It did.
Gonna P to get that early tag. Forces out the shock darts here. On the side, G2. How do you get around this? Difficult to chew through and work through. It's a really hard pit, man. I mean, it just obfuscates all the available angles. Wingman sticking onto the defuse here, but broken. An IC decay down to 1, single digits. Dwindling the chances here. Might be able to get some extra kills, but really that's all about it. So, as foretold, expected Lev to be winning that one with that ult advantage. And, you know, crucially as well, still keeping a lockdown for this next.
I'm amazed they kept the lockdown, to be honest with you, because I was expecting the lockdown to either open things up or close things out, and Tex instead was so willing to just duel in mid and risk the potential of that ultimate falling. But they've saved lockdown and reckoning for the final round here. So getting greedy with the ultimates, but in a really solid kind of way.
Yeah.
Rationing them out perfectly. So they still have an ult advantage to go into this round. It's going to be very difficult to defend A.
Start that final flourish and finesse here. The last round of the first half. That's conditioning.
Yep, that's the stop Val and getting the ult as well.
Now they're going to be letting loose with the own reckoning. Okay, good tags. Push back the players on top screens. Aspas is eager to lay waste, isn't he, to the opposition. And this time, what kind of positions will he be playing into? That's a very deep Viper Orb. It's going to make it tough, but here we go. Icy. The Thrash sends it forwards. Will this team be able to take the space off it? There's so many smokes in the way and out of lockdown as well. Definitely going to be breaking this one. It's just slowing down the timings for G2 once more.
They have a Shock, Molly, and Nano.
And all of that's going to be delaying. Creeping towards inevitability here for Leviatán. The players are going to be toppling out towards the back of the side. Aspas cleaned up 3v3, but again, it's that util. How do you deal with these players? And awareness! Leaf is running rampant right now. Spraying through, going to break this code. Already diffused, stuck all the way. And that's G2 making it nice and pretty. 6-6. There's parity here between these two teams on Icebox so far.
Lev looked awesome at the beginning of this. The first quarter dominated by them. Aggressive post-plant positioning where Aspas could take over. And then more mistakes. G2 getting into good positions. Leaf waking up. Top fragging at the moment on Icebox. But all that just to get even at the half.
Just to get even, but maybe that's enough here. I mean, 16-8 is a phenomenal performance of Leaf and Leviatán. Some questions that they need answering as well, I think, on the other side of this. Let's send it down to Liz, who's down on the floor.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. A 6-6 half. And now I'm here with the manager of Leviatán, Juan, who is, I was talking to you before, you've been doing the manager thing for a while. And there are people who are watching, like the Tariks and the Finesses, who have that professional experience. There are people like me who have zero professional experience, people out there who have zero professional experience. So a couple questions for you about being a manager. What is it like supporting your players kind of like away, literally off stage from the side?
Okay, they're pretty like easy to handle.
Yeah.
And then usually you have to have like their necessities like this, you know, like for them to be happy, to be comfortable with the org, the team, on the stage, everywhere. Like they just need to be happy, comfortable, and the only thing they have to worry about is like to play good.
Yeah. So what is the hardest part of your job?
It's related to what I said before, because there are some. I mean, each player is different, so each player needs some different things. But once you get used to it, like it becomes like pretty easy. Like you flow with the team, you know.
Is the flow the easiest part of the job?
Yeah, when you flow, it's easy, but like the hard things, like to manage altogether, like to adapt and get that flow, you know.
Now we were talking before. You play Valorant. What's your rank?
A big tomorrow.
All right. Well, I didn't. So thank you very much, Juan. But we have a game to get back to. So casters, please take it away.
You could, Liz, if you put the effort in. I believe in you.
I believe too.
It's possible.
Yeah. It's very easy. Josh has done it.
Yeah, listen, if I did it, then anyone can, can't they? I mean, I am a talentless sack of meat. We're about to head back into this one, and I think this is still going to be a bit of an uphill battle for G2 with how good Leviatan's defense has looked so far across all of the recent games that we've watched. And with Aspas still looking good. I know it's even, but I think the impetus is on G2 to prove that they can push this across the line.
I would agree as well. I mean, Leaf has been able to do it for them in that first half, but he's playing quite fluid, you know, as much as a Killjoy player can, but taking peeks down mid, winning those fights out.
You can force fights a little bit when you play the attack side Killjoy here. You know, if your team is defaulting towards B, you can try to take a lot of space on the other side of the map. Normally, people are going to play it passively to avoid getting punished. But if he's feeling like he's got a good read on the game and his aim's hot, then you can try to make more aggressive lurks.
A lot of possibilities racing through Aspas's head. Look at these players peek from, meanwhile. A noise made earlier by G2 out towards B. Oh, just spots Leaf.
Yeah, Leaf's hoping that there was nobody home. Because G2 have droned over towards B and put that cascade up, they're expecting and anticipating that Lev would lean their defense in that direction, but it's still very spread.
I got you.
As he used it, it's going to be clearing close here, but only 30 seconds left, and Lev have got the right read on this one. You can tell it. The high tide. They want to seek to fight this one and disrupt this plan before it can even go down. It's going to come down to the bullets, spraying through along with the util. Denied in the moment. So now G2, they do have to get that move on, picking up the spike here. Dizzy up at the top, not watched for. It's not even broken, but a right clicks. Mazzino doing his best to sell copies and countless amounts of the bundles here still. Icy presses forwards. He's tucked though, his position is noted. Has to be the combined might and swing. 1v1. Leaf versus King. Tapping away, Leaf! Rips it away.
Continuing to have such awesome impact in this map.
He's taken over.
Certainly has. You saw him trying to get the more aggressive lurk play on A. Couldn't find his opportunity. Called for that timing of the hit back over towards B. And then secures it for them in the post. Nice refight there as well, actually, from G2. Icy with the high Dizzy catching Com underneath. And even with Mazzino's response, that's a great beginning for G2.
Oh, yeah. Lev are going to be taking a bit of a wander out towards aggression, I guess, onto the A site, pushing Aspas forward. As soon as Aspas gets no signs of life, they've hard rotated players away, especially with the drone being used by G2 to clear.
And I don't think they'll do this as much on the rifle rounds, but on the eco, it's so worth the gamble.
Yeah, a little gamble stack. Definitely win rounds from it. Taking the dart. Should be a bit of fear into the backs. He's the back of the minds here, the G2 players. Lev overwhelming them now, at least with the bodies, but again, they can't really quite get it done. They don't have the guns for it, so toppled over G2, and look at that high tide as well. It really makes it so that they can take these easy fights. Frenzy from range. Not up to snuff though, not quite against the Bulldogs. So G2, 2-round lead here. Win the pistol round. Let's see if they can win the bonus and really make a go of it.
It's certainly plausible. Icy got enough kills in that round that he's one away now from the Thrash. And either looking to Wingman plan to get that down, although Lev have been on top of breaking the Wingman, or more likely just pushing people away from the ult orb and then trying to play for it. The economy here, though, it's looking okay actually for G2. They've been able to put together a buy. Only Jonah forcing.
Yeah. Jonah buying up into it, but still competitive. Dizzy through, along with the wall. Has to get broken nice and early here. Forwards being played. Even the drone being broken. That's just spam through.
That's a good read, I think, actually, as well. The defense would be in an open position, looking to try to spam Icy, so you counter spam. And here comes that trash.
Yeah, using it to really pave the way forwards here onto the side. Make sure you can reclaim it for later.
Flood defense, set up to go.
Man, to get this plant online, and here's the flood. Out through the cove as well. He'll take it into the right-hand side and approach over the rafters. They're tearing them to pieces, man. And again, it's down to Leaf. It's a 1v1, just like that. Him versus Aspas, and how much have we talked about it? This head-to-head. He has taken the timing forwards on the rope silently. As you go, Aspas. Any sort of expectation. The adjusts it. Snaps it up top there with a rifle to shut down his adversary.
All of that damage already done to Leaf. Put him at 37 health. And a single Vandal bullet was all it took from Aspas. I really like the way that both teams have played that. I think G2 had fantastic awareness of the way that they were going to take space, take Alt Orb, and get the plant down. But Lev on defense was set up immediately to flood defend. Everybody was on rafters, immediately ready to go. They all swing out the same direction. And that dash from Aspas to get over to Nest from rafters was phenomenal stuff. The economy, I thought it would be in a better spot than this. It looked like it was only one player that had forced on the bonus. It looked like it was only Jonah, but we've actually got 3 players coming in with only pistols.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if they're just saving up the money as well, because they know, okay, well, Aspas likes to force this outlaw, and everybody falls. I mean, just like that. Yeah, barely expecting it here, but 8-8 for Lev.
They hit the deck. And if it is the case that they wanted to buy up, you know, take around and buy up rifles instead, they've actually allowed Lev to get closer to big ultimates. You know, Mazzino now has Reckoning online. King's one away from getting a pit down. Yeah. They're going to kick themselves if the ults end up making the difference. A timeout here, tactical called for G2 as they reassess the situation. Leaf's excellent play at the beginning of the half has given him the lockdown. There's lots of places that you can use that on the attack side. Over towards B, which is a fairly uncontested area, you can get the site essentially for free. It's going to create enough space for the wingman plant. But Lev have looked very aggressive and coordinated with the retakes. That would scare me.
Yeah.
Because
worrying about it, the pressure that it could apply.
Yeah, even if you get into a post-plant spot, the round is probably not going to come down to utility. Because util only buys a certain amount of time, and Lev are in your face fast. So there needs to be extra layers to that. Do you slow them down by getting deeper positions on site? Do you try to set up post-plant lurks? Do you try to just win the round rather than go into a post-plant retake scenario? You know, by doing more splitting instead of just going straight in.
Look at this. Aspas was considering the outlaw into the round. Sides against it. King just drops him his weapon.
It might have been a good idea. 3 players on G2 with light armor. It's a decent read.
Yeah, definitely chances for him, but instead he's going to be saving up for the operator a little bit later, and we know how much damage he was doing on Breeze with that. He took over the game. Now just the rifles over the top here with the ropes. There's no one to receive this one on G2's side. I'm not going to be hearing much noise at all. All eyes and ears face towards B and mid, now grouped up.
There's a bit of danger there with G2 taking the tack timeout. It's given Leviatán the read that they can post Aspas in this spot.
It's so damn aggressive. King just getting sprayed down into the mix. Has to dodge just the sight line here of the Dizzy and the drone, which isn't going to get broken, so it clears the way. Peace of mind for G2. Up top, though, it's a high-low setup here with a Reckoning forward. They want to try and fight this one. Lev really getting active now into the mix, trying to take that initiative. Jonah P. Just a fadeaway shot there. I think maybe even getting slowed down in a moment, but he does find his target here, sprayed through into the cove. G2 trying to fight over this one, tooth and nail, but the util is just chopping him up. Anyone who tries to hold that ground with the backside of yellow nanoswarms not being broken here. Now the lockdown. It's perfect timing for Leaf.
They're going to have to go.
And they have to go fast here. Cove has to be broken, and it is indeed. Everybody just getting chewed up, chopped up onto that defuse spot. Aspas, no choice now but to respect this one. Running around, but detained, and that is going to seal it. No matter what, gives the acknowledgements for G2. They are just out of there, hightailing it, keeping the guns, keeping the weaponry, and crucially, getting a bit of a lead.
So I was talking through G2's responses of how they can drag out that post plant situation. And they did apply quite a lot of pressure as the plant was going down. They got up fairly deep. They didn't just use the lockdown to get on site and get a post plant. You know, they pushed forward. They tried to take space all the way up to danger, dropped the Viper wall, tried to play with the Harbor wall. And then when they were pushed back by the Reckoning, then Leaf goes for the lockdown. So really good idea of how to counter Leviatan's fast retake setup there. Just creating more threats, essentially.
Yeah.
Aspas was A in the previous round. Now he's gone to B. Both times G2 have avoided him. Not by virtue of having any knowledge.
This time just chance, really. Look at a draw, especially when he's got that operator online.
And another round where G2 do a good job pushing back the defenders and picking up an ult.
Yeah. What's a call here with a Reckoning? Flooding through. Lev looked like they wanted to have a good chance here, just trying to flood back into this one. Maybe with a Hunter's Fury, they might still choose to. Cleaves his way forwards. Only the one tag here. Icy not going to be pushed back away from the plant either. I believe that's just the wingman. So into the post plant with the pit down. Lay it out on top of it. Got everything necessary here. King is way ahead of the rest of his team. It's caught. A nice little timing there, but has to dodge and juke away from the mollies and still dominating these angles. Not going to be pushed away from the pit. G2, they lock it down. Retake it into it with the operator. Just not an option here for Lev. So another steady lead now being accrued up. This will be the 10th round for G2.
I think Valen's doing a great job calling around his ultimates. He's keeping it simple. He's getting into good positions. This time, you know, picking up the Reckoning. Reckoning to open, pit to close. Just making it tough for Leviatán to always set up these retake scenarios. And now in the next round, you know, if you're thinking about him calling around the ults, he's still got Thrash, Hunter's Fury to work with. An opener and a closer again.
Yeah.
I think Valen's got a great idea of how to snowball these kind of rounds. And Leviatán, they're the team under pressure here. I was talking about the fact when we were at the 6-6 half that I thought it was the impetus was on G2 to prove that they could actually get things across the line. But now the pressure's in a very different direction. And I think as much as he's always carrying that weight of responsibility, it comes to Aspas again. He has the op. He saved it from the previous round. And he's just not been quite able to get the read on where G2 are going.
And that could be a blessing or a curse, because when you're playing full retakes into these comps with an operator, you're late to the party often.
It's very difficult.
It's brutal. It basically takes you out of the game.
Now, he does have Bladestorm to work with now as well. So he's going to have chances early round to set up an op peak, and then he could retake with Bladestorm and just, you know, pass the op along to King or something like that. But getting him in position to actually be a threat in the early round is something that G2 have failed to, Leviatán have failed to do the last couple of times. Because G2 are not really, they're not messing around. They're not defaulting. They're picking a side of the map and they're committing on it. And so if Aspas guesses wrong at the start of the round, he's out of it.
It's honest to God Icebox gameplay. We have it any other way.
And when you have the ults on the attack side, you can call like that. You're like, all right, well, this round we're going A, we're getting ults, we're committed to the site.
Very structured game plans.
Yeah. You can't do that as much when your ults aren't cycling. So Aspas looks like he's looking to try to walk down tube and get the peak here with a recon dart from Com. And he might end up finding an early pick onto Jonah, but they're just not giving it to him right now. However, I do still want to draw your attention to the sightline that Aspas is on, because at the moment, there are two portions of G2 that are unconnected from each other, whereas previously we've seen G2 very grouped up on one side of the map.
The early peek, though, just to remove the turret. He wants to be mobile, following where the action is. Currently, all that noise being made, Mazzino, an attempt to get that mid-round information for his team to play off, just results in paying him with his life. And he's got the information, but what cost here for them? Because G2 now open for the taking is the site. Aspas, there's so much you can really do in this spot. Like I said, I mean, waves of smokes and util. Not exactly like you can get aggressive either, but he does still have the dash active and the Bladestorm. Plant. Wingman from IC not being spammed down, so still getting into the post here for G2, not being pushed back away from it.
I think this is probably a situation where you want to just,
Going for the spam kills. I mean, vulnerable up. Leaf just locking down that angle. This guy is on fire right now. Aspas wants to just get out of there with the operator again, having to save it. And it's that, that curse that I was talking about.
Yeah. I was halfway through the retake. I was like, right, well, drop the op over to King and see, pop the Blade Storm, see what you can do. But they didn't even want to commit to that.
Oh, and he's not going to be able to save the op.
At least he's got the Blade Storm to work with in the next, so it's a buffer for the economy. You know, at least silver lining, he didn't pop it and try to go for it. But I just want to take a moment to again credit Valen's calling, because they've come out the back of a Leviatán timeout and decided to run a fake. 2 rounds in a row, they've just grouped up and picked a site, exec on it with ults. And then this round, where they could do the same again with the Thrash and then Hunter's Fury, they actually fake A, contact B, and they catch Mazzino going for a really wide jump peak, not expecting anyone to be there.
Forcing a hand here for Lev.
Oh yeah! Monster
And again with G2, I mean, there you run the fakes, you're talking about the conditioning is so damn well timed here. 5 players grouped up from G2. They're not hiding their intention here over towards B.
Yeah, you run the fake in the previous round, now you can use the ults. Thrash to open, Hunter's Fury to close. And this is where you need hero plays.
That's why Aspas is taking those liberties. Yeah, G2 will set themselves up now again with the wingman plan forwards.
If Tex gets a kill, he's got lockdown. And a lockdown here is amazing for retake. But he would need that kill.
And how does he even find it? It's too much to work through, man. I mean, walls on walls here, flying forwards into your face. It's a Thrash that is going to be expended here and pushing you away along with the darts, the raves of all that util emanating out. Out of Lake Lurk as well on top of it. Leaf is really causing that distraction behind them. They've got so much to worry about right now, and how do they really even deal with it? Taspas forwards here, the Blade Storm shut down in his place here. Up to 12 now for G2.
They didn't even need the Sovereign. They had so many other ways of closing out that round.
Not sweating.
They had Thrash to stop any fast retake from happening. Leaf was on a reflank through mid. G2 are comfortable, easing into their calling. And even their Valen catching 2 before the Cove can be used.
One enemy remaining.
Massive credit to G2.
Yeah, I think they're calling a great game. And I think this map shows you how momentum becomes real.
Yeah.
Right? It's always described as like a vague process, but it's having that conditioning. It's having those economy spirals.
Turn down.
There's Mazzino. Chance to do some damage.
Made a footstep, I think.
Did hold up. How's that fight going, Leaf? Losing it. It's a rare one. Sitting at the top of the score, but I believe 28 kills to his name. But with him going down, first kill advantage now going away of Leviatán. Maybe that's exactly what they ordered.
Yeah, taking a risk and it paying off. Lev have tried so many different things to get players in advantage situations. This is one of the rare times that they've got one.
Toxin screen down.
Grouped up now, though.
Com's position is really odd. You don't normally run your Sova behind yellow.
Just the off angle here in the movements. Is Com going to be a backup policy right from the back here with the Guardian in his face, but he's blinded up. Dizzy doing most of the work there for it, so all the kills. Tex seeking that timing. He's walked up right past even the wall. High tights on high tights again. It cuts up these angles, and it's an unfortunate one here because Mazzino just doesn't realize that he's not even set up for that fight here. But as it fades away, doubled up, they were able to make that one happen. Valen making noise now up through the flank here. They've got to try and deal with him in a dash to disengage and away, fading through. Lockdown needs to be broken, and I see delivers that death blow. That's a 13-8 flourish and finish. Map 3 ready and waiting.
G2 proving that they can hang with some of these top teams. An excellent attack side from Valen. Just so many opportunities to flex his calling. And Leaf up at the top there. Almost 400 ACS, 28 kills across 21 rounds.
Yeah.
Showing you that star power of 2.
We posed the question, didn't we? You know, who was going to be the player to shut down Aspas, make sure that that impact was mitigated. To be honest, there's a bit of a mixture of the calling, but also Leaf having a good game. Definitely didn't hurt them. Popped the hell off, and what a comeback that was as well after getting brutalized in map 1 of Breeze. They've made it a possibility. They have a chance here. We will be heading over to map 3.
said forever, yeah, yeah, yeah. I burned your letters, and I'm just forgetting about you. I'm just forgetting about you. Talking to myself and I can't focus. Yeah, I'm broken. The door is closing. I wanna be a part of something more than this. I've lost control of it. I've lost control. Should've known better, yeah, yeah, yeah. You said forever, yeah, yeah, yeah. I burned your letters, and I'm just forgetting about you. I'm just forgetting about you. Talking to myself and I can't focus. Yeah, I'm broken. The door is closing.